on January 3rd, 2022. Happy New Year to everybody. To start out the meeting here, I do need to read an excerpt from the governor's office. So pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order superseding certain provisions of the open meeting law, GLC 30A, section 18, and the governor's June 16th, 2021 act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, this meeting of the Webster Conservation Commission will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. The board will record the meeting for the purposes of note-taking. Anyone wishing to record the meeting for their personal use must notify the chairman in advance. So welcome, everybody. I'm Joey. I am the chairman, and hopefully everyone is staying warm. So first item here, meeting minutes for approval of December 20th, 2021. Are there any concerns on the meeting minutes for approval? Any discussion? And if there is no discussion, do we have a motion for approval of those meeting minutes for December 20th, 21?
Michelle, did you understand the vote thing?
No, it looked.
We had four people for quorum, Michelle, and
Yep.
2 voted no and 2 voted to move forward with that.
So it didn't pass, basically.
Yeah.
Okay.
So maybe we should make that clear.
No, it's fine.
Okay.
I'm fine.
It does, I mean, it does look a little different when there are 7 of us that are voting members and you only got 2 and 2. So, but I mean, it was right down, you know, I don't like to use this term, but party lines. Not really. But yeah, it was 2 for it, 2 against it, but because we didn't reach the quorum before, it didn't pass. So it's off to the state, and if 91 approves it, then that overrides us. So any other discussion on it? You all set, Michelle?
Yeah, I'm fine. Thank
Okay.
you.
All
Michelle,
right, so
were you comfortable with everything with that?
It doesn't matter. I wasn't at the meeting.
I just wondering, just asking.
all right.
We can talk about that some other time if you want.
Yeah.
Okay, all
Yeah.
right, yeah, I agree, I'm sorry, I apologize for.
Yeah,
everybody.
let's let's talk a little bit about that maybe in the other business for the chapter 91 stuff. So back to the meeting minutes, that's clarified. So can we get a motion to approve the meeting minutes so they can get posted for December 20th of 2020?
I motion we approve the minutes of December 20th, 2020.
Okay, Clarissa with the second. Robin, are you okay with this? No, Clarissa with the first, Robin with the second.
Yeah, sure, no problem.
Okay. All right. Okay, and Robin. All right. All right, so request for determination of applicability. Mary, do we have anyone in the waiting room?
Sorry, don't you have to vote on that?
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Roll call.
All right, Ms. Cirillo,
Same.
Ms. Johnson,
Yes.
Dr. Jewell,
Yes,
Mr. Bach,
Yes.
Mr. Wigglesworth.
Yes.
Where's Dan?
That's unusual.
I know, because he was sending me all these emails earlier today.
Maybe he was trying to get some business done before, because he wasn't going to be here, but he didn't say anything.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so Clarissa with the second, Clarissa with the first, Robin with the second, and then no one in the waiting room, Mary?
No one in the waiting
Right.
room.
For the essence of time, we're going to skip over the RDAs for now. We're right to public hearings, notices of intent, also known as NOIs. And I believe we've got Steve on the line for 23 Lakeview Road. Just had to get us updated plans. A letter from Webster Ventures, which is also Indian Ranch, for updating their docks in order to put in a dock here. And I believe that was all. We need the side profile too. So how you doing, Steve? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to everybody.
Thanks. Happy New Year.
All right. So we obviously we discussed concerns from last time, and we landed after discussion on a few things that you just needed to get to us, and then we were all set. So here's the letter, folks, saying that they will be modifying the dock, shrinking it down by, how many feet was it, Steve? 2 sections?
Just docks number 29, 30, 31, 32, I believe.
Okay.
And it's shown on the plan.
Okay.
One section, I guess.
Yeah,
The date.
Okay, so the ending section there, and there's over 40 feet of navigability between the closest corner for both of those docks. Everything else from last meeting, we were all set with. So this is the plan. We got the letter.
If you want me to go over what I did to the plan to update
Sure.
you.
Yep.
A couple things we did. Number one was we show the docks that are going to be removed. I also show the dock permit number on the docks there. You can see it, the dock
Perfect.
permit number in
Yes,
the
thank you,
docks.
Steve. Yep.
It shows it right there in the lengthwise of the docks that's remaining. That's the
Okay.
dock permit number. The other thing I did is I have shown 3 signs along the, I believe it's southeasterly property line. I labeled one and said typical, and there are 3 shown. And they're showed roughly at their 3rd points.
And as discussed from the last meeting, we decided, and you agreed that, you know, when the signs go to be installed, you'll do that with Mary.
Correct.
Yeah, I think, Steve, did I send you a draft of the order? Anyhow, I think it says at least, I think I put in the order at least 10 feet from the property line, just so that there's a little bit of buffer for the stream,
Yes.
or from the stream, 10 feet from the stream, or the, either. It was from the stream, not the property line. I guess it's not the same thing.
And the one other thing was on sheet 2 of 3, we show the profile of the docks.
Okay.
The profile in the end section, how they would be anchored.
Okay.
And the letter was the 3rd thing from Suzette Coppola. And I believe those were the only remaining items that need to be addressed.
Yes, and then in order to close this out, Steve, we just needed your DEP number, which I think arrived later that night, Mary realized.
It was like at 5:45.
Yeah,
All right, so we got the DEP number, and Steve has satisfied all the requirements that we have asked for. Commissioners, any other items before I open up for public comment? All right, not hearing any additional comments from the commissioners. I just want to make sure I see Dan has joined us. Dan, do you have audio? Dan?
I'm here.
All right, hi. Okay, all right, so with that, I'm going to open up for public comment. Anyone here from the public? I don't see anyone. Anyone in the waiting room, Mary?
No, I don't think so. Nope.
All right, so with no one here, and nothing has been submitted for public comment on this, why don't we motion to close the public hearing?
I motion we close the public hearing.
Robin with the
Aye.
first. We have a second,
I'll second.
Clarissa with the second,
All right, Ms. Cirillo,
Yes,
Ms. Johnson,
Yes.
Dr. Jewel,
Yes,
Mr. Bach,
Yes.
Mr. Duto,
Yes,
Mr. Wigglesworth.
yes. Motion to issue order of conditions for 23 Lakeview Road, Webster Ventures LLC.
I'll make the motion to issue an order
Thanks.
of conditions for 23.
Thanks,
Lakeview
Michelle.
Road. Yep,
I second.
Robin with the second,
Ms. Cirillo,
yes,
Ms. Johnson,
Yes.
Dr. Jewel,
Baby.
Yes. What?
Mr. Bach,
Yes.
Mr. Duto,
abstain.
Mr. Wigglesworth, and Michelle, you're invoking the Mullins rule, right? I think you need to state that for the
Oh, I'm
minute.
sorry.
You know what that is?
I'm invoking the Mullins rule. I've reviewed the YouTube video and the meeting minutes from the last meeting.
And
related
she,
to Lakeview Road.
and she submitted the certificate, which is now in the file.
and for public awareness, I just want to make a comment that the Mullins rule is a law that allows sitting board members of a municipal board or state board to catch up. So Mr. Dudo abstained, and I'm a yes, Mary.
Okay,
I think we are all set. Correct? All set? And Hayden has just joined us.
Yes, I have.
Okay, we're just voting on 23 Lakeview Road.
Yes, I'm gonna have to abstain if it came to that because I joined after the conversation.
Yes. All right. So Steve, you're all set. Of course, Mary will get you what you needed. And thank you so much. And I'm sure we'll see you in the new year.
Thank you very much, everybody, and have a happy new year. Mary, could you let me know when those are ready to be picked up?
yeah, I've got it all drafted. It's been so quiet, so end of the week for sure.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Steve. All right, take care.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a question?
Sure.
Does Indian Ranch now have to submit an amendment to their chapter 91 for the marina? Because
That we should probably bring to our 91. Our 91, they're not expanding it, so I don't believe so. They're shrinking it down, so.
I thought any time that you changed the configuration that was approved, you had to amend it.
That's something that we should bring to our chapter 91 folks and ask them.
Fair enough.
So I brought it up at the last meeting and I think so. But I don't want to say yes or no,
Yeah,
because
no,
I'm not completely sure. So,
it seems logical given how long those permits last.
yeah, it
You
does.
want to know, 'cause it's sort of like us getting an as-built.
Yes. Yep. Welcome Hayden, welcome Dan. Thank you so much. Happy New Year. So next item here, 29 Beacon Road, Mr. Shapitz is on to be continued to January 24th. Continued that back end of November, I believe it was. So that business item will go on the next agenda. We don't have Mr. LaFemboy here yet, I don't believe, for his doc filing. With that, why don't we move to discussion items? And if Mr. LaFemboy joins us, we'll take on the business for his property. So discussion items, 29 Beacon Road, Mary, this is certificate of compliance. Is that going to carry, are we carrying that to the 24th? Okay. All right, so we'll discuss that on the 24th. And then peer review fees, we had just quickly touched upon that beginning of December about making a change in how we do peer review fees. Did anyone get a chance to look at the 53G law? Did you get a chance to look at that, Mary?
I know I should have, I had time, but I didn't look at it.
All right, do we want, I mean, I don't really see a need to talk about this now if we haven't really reviewed the 53G law to see what we can modify with that. The concern is that at the beginning of the application process, folks are paying for their application fee, but what is it, $250 is going into an account only to be refunded, not long afterwards if we don't ask for a peer review. So we just want to make sure that any change in that.
And I think there's like, several $1,000s sitting in that account that is just people that needs to be refunded to people. So Kelly's working on it right now, but it's a pretty big job. It involves a fair bit of paperwork, both to create the account and to empty it out.
Where do we see this law? Where can we review the 53G law?
If you go to mass.gov and Mass DEP 53G, it will be under that. I can look in the MACC handbook because it's kind of tailored down, and in layman's terms, it's not so law heavy. But the law for peer review fees is 53G. So with that, we'll pick that back up. That's sort of a minor agenda discussion item. I've just got one thing, Mary, and I'm sure that the board would like to sort of know where things are at. Almost about 3 years ago now, we gave an RDA to Carol Sear for the Webster River Walk. I'm just curious as to what the next phase would be, what's left in that walk. I know that there was possibility that, they're waiting for some properties to, kind of divide up a little bit and give some of the land to the walk. And I'm just curious to know where that's at. And if it's been 3 years, we may want to put that as an agenda item towards the spring.
I know it came up, I was at a meeting, someone was talking about a downtown property they were going to develop. And actually Jimmy's, that property is going to be revamped. And so Carol was talking about how the Riverwalk does extend, the plans are for it to extend beyond there, but it hasn't, happened yet. So yes, she probably needs a certificate of compliance for the work that's been done. It's done. I think she got back to me. They were going to go in again and do some invasive removal. I think maybe this summer. And I need to check on that because it was knotweed, and I think they've been having a hard time keeping on top of that.
Yeah, we probably, I know we sent, her down the RDA path, but we probably should have done probably the NOI so that it could correctly be
Wasn't
conditioned.
there an NOI for that?
I thought we did an RDA on, but it doesn't matter. They've been great with communication and they're doing a wonderful job. I just want to make sure that, you know, in case something comes up in the next growing season, I know that, you know, knotweed was awful, once they ripped out that, area, but, you know, the concern that I had was I don't think we really looked at the full scope at the bank. And if they're doing bank disturbance, we gotta be careful of that because, remember, this is an area that, has a 200-foot buffer. And, if you're disturbing bank, that does, you know, that's a concern. And I was a little bit surprised at how much bank disturbance there was last time, so we probably should get a clear view of whatever's left on that. And I mean, if they want to continue on with trying to control that knotweed, a great person to talk with would be Glenn. You know, Glenn's been studying that and trying different methods to control it in various areas of the state where he's got projects. So, but I just, you know, think it's probably time to just check in and see what's going on.
Joey, can I ask you a
Yeah.
question at this point? Whatever happened to the Mark and Rihanna walk that we did last fall? I mean, where is
COVID.
that?
COVID hit
Okay.
Robin and we
Because
got
I've
busy
seen them a
and
couple of
this is,
places. Yeah, but no, I'm not looking for, I'm just
you
wondering,
know,
asking
it's
a question.
probably it probably is a good time to check in back with them but you know, it requires, you know, it really does take a village when you're trying to do protection. And you gotta
'Cause I've seen them at their concerts and elsewhere, and they've asked me, and I've said I'd, you
Yeah.
know, be in touch with everybody. Yeah, I mean,
And
they're
I
not
was-
stamping their feet, they're just wondering where is it, you know? that's
Well,
all.
I was very frank with them at the beginning when we were talking with them that, you know, it really, we really need some help from the public at large and from, you know, for us to kind of divide and conquer. And, you know, we started getting going with bigger projects and, you know, we have the regulatory piece to take care of being, you know,
Right.
permitting our projects, that has to take precedent over protection, unfortunately. So,
Okay.
but no, thanks for asking about that. Why don't we add that to the next agenda item? I mean, we don't necessarily need to invite them to a meeting, Mary, but why don't we just sort of take in, you know,
The protection.
maybe take a week or two to think about where we were at from the last time. And we can pick that back up at the next meeting because we're in the doldrums of winter for right now. But you know, we can talk about next steps with that. All right, so there's that, Mark and Mariana. So, the other thing that I had was, Dan did send out, a draft, private doc policy. I want to give a huge kudos and thanks to Dan on that. I don't know if everyone's had a chance to look at it. Please read through it. If there are any adjustments or changes on that, why don't you send them to Dan and copy Mary on it? And just make sure that there's no discussion.
I did not send that to everyone, but I certainly
Okay.
can send it to anyone who wants it.
You know, why
Dan,
don't you
did you send that to me as well?
I did.
why don't you, anyone that would like that, Dan
do.
will send it out. And then any questions or comments, just, you know, send it off to Mary and Dan alone. And we can, why don't we pick that up at the next meeting and talk about it, but in the interim, it looks like on January 11th, which is Tuesday, Mary corrected me, we're going to have a commission and sort of a questions and answers and a little bit of training from Chrissy Hops over at Chapter 91. It's definitely needed. And there's a lot of loose ends with the Chapter 91 that we really need to tie up if we're going to be full throttle on upholding and enforcing the 91 regulations. So what I would like from everyone is to take a look at the website for Chapter 91 at the DEP. Maybe a good idea, a good way to get a feel of how this process works is to kind of dig into it and do it yourself, and see what folks are going through in the process. Of course, everyone has the same comment that it's very heavy, it's really intense, and think about what we can do on the local level to help assist folks and at least know what we're upholding and enforcing. And then I would obviously read the policy that is in place. It's steeped in regulations, which is very good. There's some definitions in it. And then application protocols, I think is great. I still think that it would be a good idea to have some sort of what I was thinking was kind of a matrix. If you have a marina, this is what you do, and this is the application you have. If you've got a private dock that's
Great
600
idea.
square feet or below, or 300 square feet and below, this is what you do. Here's the first thing, snap some photographs. Second, get your assessor's map. Third, where is it located, and is it at least 15 feet minimum away from
Would that be on our
neighbors.
website? Would that be on our thing?
It's something I would like as we start to formalize and develop this, and it would be nice that once we clarify what we want in this dock policy and the adjustments and whatnot, have that sort of matrix in there. And then it's, kind of an easy at a glance. All right, I've got this type of dock, because there really is only two types of docks in our community. It's not like we're Ipswich where you've got the river and you've got the ocean. Even though most people think this is the ocean, but those communities, they have to sort of, you got to do the inland and the oceanic, which is really two different types, and you've got pilings and you've got a lot of different stuff. We're a little bit more simple, but the simple, as we know, can be a bit heavy. So
I could just jump in here for a second, Joey.
yeah,
and
go
say
ahead.
that
Dan.
in drafting and creating that draft dock policy, it very quickly becomes obvious that everybody's right. It's very difficult to find all the things you need to know in one document. DEP has it spread out all over the place, and it's difficult to come up with a comprehensive list of this is what I need to do for what I want to apply for. So some of those things are in that draft policy. Other things need to be clarified, and you're right. We need to create a checklist. If you want this kind of application, these are the things you need to include. And anyway, I just wanted to make sure, since I just did this, I can attest that, yeah, it's difficult to find all that stuff. And it's described in different ways and different documents. So it's like Mr. Wilson said a couple of weeks ago, you read one thing and it says this, you read something else and it looks like it says something different. But so yeah,
I also think
a
DEP
simple language document would be a good thing.
Yes. Michelle, did you have a comment on it?
Yeah, just that DEP in some of their documents gives their opinion, and if you look at the law, it's different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just like with, Chrissy may say one thing, but if someone calls up and they get Frank, or they get Ted, or they get somebody else, they may have a different opinion, or they may have dealt with a community and it was a different situation. So as we
Yeah.
know, with even just doing this, there are no two properties that are the same. So there's no two applications that are the same, which makes it often, complicated in the permitting process. But the one thing that is consistent through it all is this having adverse impact? What is the impact and how can we mitigate it or avoid it? That's the important thing that we need to in the permitting process.
I'm trying to sort out the difference between a 600 square foot dock and a 600 plus square foot dock.
So there's a lot for us to learn. And of course, there are a lot of resources, but when you start, getting in the weeds of all of the resources, it really can get your head spinning. But I can't thank Dan enough for taking the lead on that. And the only thing I can assure everyone in the public is that,
I want to save you thanks till after you read through it carefully.
As long as you start with something other than a blank page, we can get to the right policy.
Yeah, and a policy is just a guiding document, just for the public, a guiding document that says this is what the commission expects, and it's to help you. And it's to help protect the resource ultimately, and that is our job. More to come on that, but I'm still waiting for Chrissy to get back to me on a time on the 11th. I will give her a call tomorrow. I mean, today was the first day back after the holiday, smash. So I will get everyone a time ASAP. And if you can join us, great. We can't record it. That's the thing with training from the state. They don't like to be sort of boxed in if there was ever litigation. So, but we can definitely, the more of us that attend, the better. And also we committed from the last commission meeting that myself with Michelle and Dan, and then I think it was Robin, we were going to kind of have a sort of working group that would really nail this information down for 91 and at least get the public what they need so that their heads are not spinning so much.
Well, this is what Karen and I have been trying to push is a
Yeah.
checklist, the infamous checklist.
Yes,
I do it
so
in my business. I do it right in my business. All my prices are right there. It's, there's no debate. No one told me this. And I think if we, like I said, you guys view me a little more conservatively and I like that. But one, I like things spelled out for people. And then two, okay, maybe I'm a little more conservative. Yeah, you can do this. Yeah. But once they've broken what we can do, we have to do the enforcement. But this is what you're saying is have everything spelled out. And I think that's just, it'd be a lot easier for the community and actually our reputation.
absolutely. And then, we can really, once we adopt and the policy as one of our policies on the board, we really, that's when we can really have a little bit more teeth for really upholding this. But, aside from that, I mean, I really am, I applaud anyone that has gone through the efforts of doing the application and coming to us with their applications. And, I obviously, with the rest of you, recognize that this is not an easy thing. There is money involved in it. And also, we want to make sure that folks are obviously abiding by what the regulations say for 91 and for the Wetlands Protection Act.
Now there's 4 people on the committee. The way, because
Yes, Karen's a non-voting member of the board,
Yeah.
so but we can't really go any more than
Okay.
that. But with the way that my schedule has been lately, and I've got another large conference coming up for work for me, I'll probably have Michelle sort of kind of updating me and whatnot. So but we can plan a day that the group can meet, and we'll definitely update the board and the public as to what things are going and discussion items going forward. All right, so that is where we're at with 91. I wanted to make sure that that got out there. Mary, we don't have Paul yet, huh? I don't know if he's coming, so,
Yeah, I didn't reach out to him and
okay. I mean, we can, it's the middle of, I mean, you know, it's the middle of winter, so, I mean,
Yeah.
He
why
does
don't we
need,
move on to the agents? I'm sorry, go ahead, Michelle.
I just wanted to make sure that he realizes he does need updated information.
He needs
And
a
I did-
side bathymetry, yeah.
And I did share with the group the response from chapter 91, specifically regarding boat lifts
Okay, that's good.
before the last meeting.
Okay. Yeah, because that was something that was a question with Mr. Wilson too. And that's been obviously a question of concern, so. All right, anything else on the 91? All right, thank you, everyone. So Mary,
Should
why
I
don't you-
be getting that up? Should I just keep that on as an agenda item for a while?
yeah, 91 is gonna probably, you know, we're gonna slowly chew away at this for a little bit, before the next season.
Okay, agent report. So I've started putting, and we might, if there's, these are things just to kind of reminders that of stuff we're waiting for to hear from people, letters I've written and stuff. Oh, and did you guys get a chance to look at that letter to Mr. Rapps? 29, I think 29 Loveland. He had been the one who had done a little bit of clearing next to that little pond off the lake. And we had written him a letter a year ago. He never responded. I talked to him on the phone this summer because I stopped a building permit.
Yeah.
And he was upset, mainly because of the situation on the road.
I did look at that and I remember looking at that particular area probably a year ago after it had been done. And I went and looked at it again the other day. And yeah, he's kept it pretty much the way it was a year ago.
Yeah,
And
he's maintaining it, right?
yeah, he did clean out some brush and things,
Mhm.
which of course he wasn't supposed to do without a permit, but the site actually looks pretty nice right now.
Mhm.
The
Yeah.
important thing with this is, number one, we get someone that took it upon themselves to go and clear a
Yeah,
resource area without our approval and our input. But more importantly, Dan, did you happen to notice it? Is it eroding at all? That's the concern when you do this.
no, I didn't see any issues with that. The
Okay.
most obvious thing was that he's keeping it looking neatly. You know, he obviously did it for its aesthetic value and he's keeping it that way. But yeah, of course, he shouldn't have done it without the permit in the first place. But it's obvious that why he did it and he's making an effort to keep it looking nice, which kind of explains why he did it. But nevertheless, you're right. He should have come to us first. And what everybody else has done is not an excuse.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, I absolutely, but with the letter, Mary, I think it's good, but I think that it's important to recognize, you know, in there, and that he obviously saw that he needed to do this, and he went and did it without our permission or input. And I think that an appropriate means is an after the fact RDA filing. And, you know, I think that, any, clearing of vegetation, regardless of whether it's invasive or not, it's this board's sole job to regulate what's being done in that area. It's not like we're gonna say, no, you can't, but what are you doing? What's the plan? We wanna know what the plan is in the future, and how's he maintaining it? We wanna know all that information. But I think that we should get a letter out sooner than later. because this is another property in that neighborhood that we've recognized something's been done without our approval. And I'm a huge believer that what's good for the goose is good for the gander. But with that, the other problem properties in that neighborhood, we really need to pull in and, even if it's a walkthrough at some point with the neighborhood and talk with them and educate them and, some sort of a listen and learn kind of thing to say, hey, enough of this. Recognize that it's a neighborhood issue here and it shouldn't happen.
Well, I think also the important thing with this particular address is that it's not okay to just ignore it, right? We reached out, it's gone on too long, we've been ignored, we can be very reasonable to work with, but
Yeah.
it's not okay to just let time pass and maybe it'll go away.
And that seems to be a theme in that area of town. So,
Seems to be a theme with a
It's
lot of
contagious.
yes. So why don't we, let's send it out, Mary, and anyone, please review that letter. If you can, if you need it again, let Mary know. And then let's call it maybe Thursday, Mary. Why don't you send that over there? And give them 2 weeks, as we do with others, to get in touch with us. And tell him we want him to come to a meeting, preferably the 24th. And, let us know what you've done and, what's the plan for the future? Any more clearing gonna happen? And if it's, if it is ignored, we will levy, we can levy fines.
Okay.
All right, so agents report.
Yeah. Let's see, share screen. I don't think there's anything terribly exciting. Here's South Point. They have started there. Chad has been very good about calling me. He called me last week. They started. I will get out there this week to check up on them. And this is, I got to do a few site visits that I haven't been to in a while. This is 5 Beacon Road. They've got their wall done. Things look pretty good there. They're trying to work on the addition. I went to Wawila. This is his, deck or patio by the water. I talked to him. I did call Doug and talk to him about this, a bit of erosion here. He's got loam sitting there for the winter, actually, because he can't get a truck back here in the spring. So he dumped it so he could do it later. So I've asked him to put wattles around the loam. It looked pretty stable, and there is a nice lip on these retaining walls where they're behind the walls, but like here, it's not behind a wall. It does seem stable though, and he does have wattles for the most part. I did ask him to put more wattles at the bottom there. So yeah, so that's my agent report. So this is recent site visits, and then I sent out that huge long thing, which is like, May all the way to September. There's like one interesting thing in there that I kind of wanted to highlight, but I'm not sure. The rest of it's mainly just administrative approvals and stuff like that, if you're curious, and like pre-construction meetings and this and that and the other. And a few things that we might want to remember that we kind of let go, like the docks on Killdeer, that kind of ongoing issue.
Oh, yeah.
There are also with
Oh.
docks, there are docks with Loveland, and then also behind, over next to Webster, was it Lakeview Marina? In that little cove there off to the right, it's behind that red office building. There are several illegal docks there. that was brought to me by another board member of a different board and
Well, it seems like the Kildare Island ones, we should really consider reaching out to them with a letter or something and explaining what
Exactly.
needs to be done.
Yeah,
Do it now before it's the season and put a dock in.
right. Yeah, I wonder if they're out for the winter. I didn't go check those
It should be.
docks.
Which one's where?
The ones that are on the kind of the spit of land, Robin. Like, so it would be pretty near you, I think. So
Yeah,
this is
that-
271, and then where is it? These guys, they're right like on the narrow part. So they're not actually at anyone's house. They're just.
That's Kildare Island property. That's supposed to be, and they
It's
put.
it's town property.
What, thank you, because that's a big issue. Who,
Yeah.
now, it's not, I'm love to know, and someone should survey it, okay, because a lot of people think it's Kildare Island Club property.
Yeah, well, I think Kildare Island's been using it, and so it's maybe it's larger than a conservation commission issue, but it's actually town property. So that's kind of that's a sticky issue because I know they rent the docks out. There's like a lottery or something for them, and it's
Right, exactly.
this is the big issue, the umbrella here. We have docks, Great Pond, that are not permitted. That's why we want people now to go through the permitting process. This will clear all of this stuff up. So if there's an agreement with the town and the Kildare Island Club, which I can imagine there is, because we've got another nonprofit organization on the other side of the lake that uses state property. And I don't think the state knows that. But if there is some sort of easement access thing that is worked out, fine. But we need to be roped into this, and we need to be notified, and we're just doing our job. We're not trying to be,
Exactly.
we're not trying to be overbearing. It's just, it's the law.
Right. So,
And in the essence of everything, we just approved a very big plan for lake invasive removal and continued, aquatic invasive management. And all of these satellite illegal docks in these coves are bringing a lot of foreign things into our body of water. So that is
Absolutely.
another one of the big umbrella issues here.
I have been,
6 South Point Road, Mary, if you can check in with the ladies and find out what they're, I'm sure they got burned out from the whole situation. But they sometimes attend our meetings and they haven't been around, but maybe just see how
Yeah.
everything's going there and just find out what's their plan. Because that's an active enforcement.
All right, yeah, and this one, this is a Cedar, it's actually not Cedar Point, it's Cedar Drive off Birch Island. I messed up there. I get all my roads confused. Someone had called and complained about a new dock going in. I did go out there and talk to the people. They explained that they had not put their dock in for 3 years. They used to put it in. It's not a huge dock. I asked them.
Not permitted.
I know, I asked them to, I did ask them to go through the Chapter 91 process, et cetera. So that's the situation with this. And this is kind of a sticky area. Remember, Mr. Sacchetto lives next door and his dock permit got denied because it was going through a wetland. This, it looks like it's been maintained as clear. So they have a little bit of access. That's that one.
Well, I
So,
can see who's in a neighbor in the background.
on that one, couldn't we send at some point, that makes sense, a follow-up that essentially says you can't put your dock back in unless you apply for a Chapter 91?
Yeah, I can send
We
them a
asked
letter.
you to do, sort of the same way we approach everybody. We've asked you to
Yeah.
do it. You kind of blew us off. Now we're going to tell you, listen, you have to do it. And you don't have to be allowed to put a dock in if you don't do it.
Right. So please apply for permit before you put your dock in next year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we can, prevent you from putting a dock in. That's the truth.
Yeah.
I know, Mary, you must have like a nice cast of letters, and we sort of came
I
up
actually
with,
got through most of them.
but we came up with a pattern for certain things, right? Where
Yeah.
Situations.
we give the soft hand, then it gets a little harder, and maybe we need to come up with a pattern for the chapter 91 things. It's nice that we ask them because somebody complained, and it's nice that they're blowing us off, so now we need to follow up, and that needs to be a little, more strict,
Right.
because I guess
It's,
I get
it's the
frustrated with
yellow
blue.
light. Hey, yellow light. It's blinking. You're a hazard. Don't do this. Go through the proper channel. And then suddenly it becomes red because they blew us off. And
Yeah,
then they only get a green light unless they go through the proper procedures.
yeah, because it's a shame to have Mary follow up on all this stuff and write the letters, and then people just blow it off. I don't want it to be there has to be something that follows the blow off. You can blow us off, but we're not going to forget you.
Right, and that's why I'm trying to maintain at the beginning of the agent's report, all these letters we've written, so we can.
Yeah,
It's
a lot.
not a bad idea to have, and then if, if we need to figure out a way of divide and conquer on that, Mary, then we will. But it's better to work with these folks now and try to get them to comply. That way in the spring, once the weather is great, they can drop their dock and they're all set. Rather than get into a tussle and, as we know, Doug is no longer here, and we will eventually have new management in town. And, we don't want to be looking like, a real pain in the neck. And then, of course, right now, everyone's going to Randy. So,
Yeah,
I don't want to create a headache for another board, when we can just solve the problems here.
yeah, I agree.
All right, any other items in the agent's report, Mary?
No, I'm gonna get back out to this one. I think he's done 190 Lower Gore Road, because I've driven past there. It's all grass. I think it's been, I think it was one of those where I'm not, so this is Conrad Allen, so I'm not sure if the property's changed hands without a certificate of compliance. But remember, he had the issue with having to fix the wetland and stuff. So I am gonna touch base on that one. It looks horrible here, but I assume they've gotten a lot more work done. There's one more thing I wanted to show you. Where is it? Um,
Gee, you got a lot of pictures, Mary.
yeah, I've basically the last 3 days I've been sorting pictures from the summer and putting them
Oh,
away.
Mary, as you're going through here, do we know what's going on with Maureen Kamak? And her wall fell into the lake?
Yeah,
What's-
that well, yeah, I had a picture of that.
What's-
I had asked them to stabilize it, end of the summer, and they did. I don't think they were gonna, I think it's still in that situation. Last I was out there, they hadn't done anything.
All right, can we
There
at
there
least
was
get,
work last week. I think there was work last week with a big crane over there. I'm not sure.
Really? They
I
were
mean, a
started?
monument, a crane that's like Empire State Building.
So I should go check that one out.
yes,
Okay.
Never.
I don't get, I understand, I get busy with things, but I gotta tell you, like, I don't understand, I really don't. Partner.
So this is very interesting, and maybe I'll pull up where it is so you guys can see it. If I can do that quickly, actually. This property I went to visit was below LKQ, so on Browns Brook. And he wanted a tree down, so it was a dead tree. It was an easy call. But he had some lovely things to say about LKQ and his property. which one was he? So yeah, in fact, I think it was 14. Yeah, it was this guy right here. So the stream goes, and you can't even see all where it goes, but it's going down past through here. And LKQ is right up here. So he's right pretty much 2 houses down. And so he says he used to have this big swamp area, and you can even see it on the map there, this big swamp. It's all gone, completely gone, he says, because of just runoff from LKQ over the years, completely disappeared. Now the brook is still, you know, running nicely in that area, but he said this whole area was pretty much, you know, swamp or whatever, and now he mows it like his lawn. So that was an interesting little piece of information. Not that it's like an enforcement thing or whatever, but it just kind of to give us an idea of the LKQ issue.
Well, I mean, if you go back to, I mean, I'm not saying that, you know, LKQ has had, obviously, we know the history of the ups and downs of that. And I mean, owning property downstream of a large, you know, sort of industrial area, I mean, you gotta kind of take it with a grain of sand. But I think I did see, you know, that, you know, they've tried to mitigate a lot over the, you know, in the last several years. Has it been success? I don't necessarily think so.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think I did see the stream poke its way around an area that was at the end of a road. So, you know, we don't know what has been done to upgrade stormwater from that roadway. So, you know, and the state is really mandating with MS4 that most stormwater is sent to a municipal stormwater system. So you will see areas that used to be wetland, no longer wetland. You'll see areas that may not have been wetland convert to wetland. As develop, I mean, this is also the story of development. When you start changing a natural system to a built environment, I mean, you're disrupting what nature intended. So, I mean, I would just, you know, obviously your conversation with him is probably done, Mary, but, you know, that area at some point may become wet again, and he needs to, you know, be mindful of that. Do we know if the project started it with LKQ?
Yes, they've been working maybe a little over a month. They're being very good and if you want, I can forward you guys the reports. It's mostly every Friday I get a report. The last two Fridays, it's been no work is being done. Right now, they're not working near the wetland. They're working up into the parking lot on the drainage structures that they were gonna construct up there. That's where they're working right now.
Okay.
So that's kind of, do you guys want me to forward you those reports when they come? I'm happy to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be nice. We're
Okay.
all sort of on the same page, and if you happen to visit there, it might not be a bad thing to do at some point, a drop-in, a surprise.
Well, those are they have their consultant who's doing the visits, but you know, I can schedule a visit too. I can't surprise them though because of it, since it's LKQ, unfortunately. We always have to schedule our visits with them.
Why?
Just because of Daryl. I mean, I guess I could stop by, but I have to, you know, go to the office and say, Daryl, can you bring me out and show me around and stuff like that.
If we have an open permit with
Yeah,
anyone,
but the reason for that is they have heavy equipment running around. So you get into.
I understand that, but someone, even a property manager, can take 10 minutes to let a municipal official in to properly, you know, look around.
Yeah, I can do a site visit there.
I mean, the city of Boston, they just drop in whenever they want, and everyone needs to stop.
We've been there, we've dropped in before where
Yeah.
they see us poking around downstream and somebody comes out to get us.
Yeah,
Okay.
to me, it seems like since the feds have gotten involved there, they're being a little more, a little more tight. but I'll stop in. All right, any other, it probably wouldn't be a bad idea, Mary, to, I'm thinking of about 5 or 6 different properties in my head, on Union.
Oh, yeah, I haven't been down there lately at all, Union Point.
Beginning of Union, one to make sure that they're not doing anything on one side, but on the other one, Mr. Haddad, another famous, I'm here, yes, I'm doing the right thing, and then goodbye. But his permit should have expired, I think, by
I
now.
didn't hear what name, with who did you say? I didn't hear you.
Haddad, Mr. Haddad.
Doug Haddad.
Okay, I heard you second
So,
time. Thank you.
Yeah, and then, at some point, we're gonna need to check back in with the ski club as to what's their plan for the spring, because that was another ball that got dropped. I was being honest and left everything in their hands, and they were supposed to get back to me 2 weeks after we met with them
Yep.
in the fall. And, you know, they moved their porta potty. I'm very appreciative of that. They cleaned up the property. It looks great, but in the spring, we're gonna need them to do something with their docks and
They
whatnot.
have all that styrofoam hanging there.
There's,
It's
you know,
hot.
just gonna need some cooperation and whatnot. I understand they're a nonprofit and whatnot. We'll help in any way we can, but we need cooperation and don't shut us off.
And it would be good to have them talk to us now and not in the summer when they got kids running around.
That way, in the spring, once they start they can incorporate it into their summer plans, or spring, summer, fall plans.
Yep.
All right, so anything else? All right, if there's nothing else, then we don't have anyone in the waiting room, right, Mary?
Nope.
All right, then I would entertain a motion for adjournment at 6:34.
Joey, I'll make for adjournment.
All right, so Hayden with the first,
I'll second.
Mr. Bach with the second.
Mm.
All in favor?
Aye.
Bye.
Yes,
Yes.
all right, unanimous.
Thank you, guys.
Good
All right, have a
night,
good evening,
Hayden.
everyone.
night, all.
Thank you.
Okay,
Night,
Happy New
everybody.
Year, everybody. Good night.
Happy New Year, thank you.
Well, Tracy, how are you feeling? This is probably another easy kind of meeting, right? Oh, I think you're muted.
Okay, yes, that was an easier one. The
Yeah.
only thing that I was a little confused about is right after 23 Lakeview Road. If you want to just go over that with me, then I probably don't even need the recording. Ms. Cirillo motions. There was a motion to close the public hearing.
Yes.
And there was a second motion to something, and I totally lost it because I wasn't prepared for a second motion.
Yeah, so that for the order of conditions, or for the notices of intent, there's always 2 votes right on top of each other. Yeah, so as long as you caught the people, it's and this is one where they just say, where you have to actually create the language, because they'll just say, oh, motion to issue an order. But what they really mean is, and that's what it was, motion to issue an order of conditions for 23 Lakeview Road for the construction of a single family house.
Okay. And then, all right, so we got that. And then down at the bottom, vote There were 2 abstain, Mr. Dudo and Mr. Brown.
For that vote, yeah, because, and they, that's something I have to watch carefully. I have to figure out who's allowed to vote. And they actually, neither of them were allowed to vote because, hey, I mean, they have to be at every single meeting where the hearing's covered to be able to vote. And so
Okay.
Hayden, he's missed the last 3 meetings. You probably haven't even met him yet, have you?
I think of the first, maybe the
Yeah.
first 2 meetings he was on. So in order to do that, then do I say 4 in favor? And then the 2 abstentions, or however that word is?
Yeah, yeah, that would be fine. 4 in favor, 2 abstentions. Yeah. And
Okay,
then because it's, you have to list out who abstained and stuff, like list out the whole vote, like Mr. Wigglesworth A or whatever, and Mr. Bach abstained. You list each person and then what their vote is afterwards. Because it's divided, we have to know who voted each way.
okay.
Yeah.
All right, so I can put that in. And then the last thing was, he asked you to send a letter. Does that need to be on there or anything, or is that just something Mr. Wigglesworth asked you to send a letter?